Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Truth About CPNs: How to Protect Your Credit Repair Business from Fraud and Misrepresentation, Part 2. Okay, what do you do if your customer has a CPN, right? And there's a bunch of these. Stop the intake process, document the interaction, add intake notes, decline service until SSN is verified, follow your compliance protocol, protect your business first, right? So I want to have Jasmine go ahead, and before we go into any of this, Jasmine, can you bring up ScoreCEO? And I've mentioned a few things like how can we have a step inside of ScoreCEO? Can you show that we can have a criteria step and where we can include maybe some scripts that your salespeople can go through every single time? So if a regulator comes in, all you got to do is show them the steps that they clicked on and what they did, and like everything else in ScoreCEO, it's logged. Can you maximize that, please?
Yes. Give me 1 second here. Does that look better with the Zoom?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So one feature that we do have available is in the workflow steps. So if we go to I'm just going to go into any one random here, but our workflow steps, that this is what we call our workflow settings here in Score. We have the option, we have one that's called qualifying criteria or qualify. The names can vary if you changed it or even if you have it active. But this step here, it does allow you to create like a checklist, and it's not necessarily just for CPN. It can be for anything that you want to have a checklist or a reminder for. So you can see here I have many different options, but I do have an option, for example, for a CPN validation. So this is something that you can possibly create and have available inside of your system so your team can possibly go through their checklist process, right? On top of that, you can have a built-in script. So as you can see here inside of my qualifying criteria, I have one, in this case, created for CPN, which what this allows them to do, I can add a link or a document that will redirect them and let my team know exactly what they need to do. In the case that they find themselves with in this type of situation. So it's as simple as creating it. And here, if I was to click on the link, this would take me to a document, right, that I created that would go over like a checklist or the things that they need to do. So these are some things that you can do. And also you can have the tags, which in this particular scenario, I added a tag to this specific workflow step, which I put CPN red flag. Basically, it's just a way that I can use this to notify my teams or possibly create notes, a canned note that it automatically leaves a note that, and also that it can send out communication to the client on why they shouldn't or shouldn't use CPN, and so forth. So it can be used for multiple ways. But the best approach I would think would be first to allow the team to know. So that way, if a customer service agent comes in, a processor or a different salesperson, they are tagged inside of the campaign. They get the alerts and they know what's going on.
And Jasmine, where can they go to alter, for example, they're in ScoreCEO? One of the things that a lot of the other competing platforms have not paid attention to is that you're using these portals and the terms of service that you're signing with the software company that's providing you this service is between you and that company. But you, in turn, you're white labeling this portal, right, with your logo on it, and you're providing services to your customers or leads. So that requires a different term of service. And not only for them, but for your referral agents as well. And guess what? Your users as well. So the terms of service are different for the different user types. I don't understand how other companies have just missed that. But if you go ahead and show them where you can alter that inside the configuration.
Yeah, so if you visit your configurations bubble and go to configurations, we have a section of terms of services. And here, depending on the users, we can see we have employees, consumers, and referral offices. Depending on which one you click, it will open up the terms of service, and you can add in wherever you would like your disclosure or disclaimer here.
So this is a document that's in ScoreCEO that is a what we call a default terms of service. All of the fields are branded to you for the different type of user contact. Okay, and this is why I don't understand how these other companies are just missing these obvious things. This is where you can go ahead and add some of these disclosures that we've put into our presentation, that if you want to use them and alter these documents, you can. In other software platforms, you don't even have the opportunity to do that. Okay, your website, you can do that in the privacy policy, either in your WordPress or just edit it. If it's not a ScoreCEO credit repair business website, we can do it for you. You just have to give us the content and we'll go ahead and do that. But if you go to, for example, wouldn't you agree, right? And you can raise your hands if you do. Is a CRO employee term of service different than a consumer or lead term of service? Of course it is. Because a CRO is your employee and your lead or customer is you have a whole different set of rules. So those two documents need to be different, as well as your referral officer, your referral agents, completely different, right? So you want to be really careful with it. Remember, ScoreCEO, you can do that. Well, where can you do that in the contract though, Jasmine?
Yeah, so it works the same way. We have a section under electronic document templates. Here you'll find your credit repair contract, which you can click on the pencil, open it up, and you can make your edits and add your information.
There you go. So you can alter your contract yourself. Once again, we are not offering legal advice here. This is an educational webinar, but this is where you would add all of those statements that we talked about, the disclosure statements that you want to make prevalent in all of the documents that are either signed by the customer or customer facing. Okay, or lead or customer facing, and even the referral offices, right? What a great thing for a referral office to see that you're a no CPN, you have a no CPN written policy. Come on, you know, and now you can alter that because that's been part of ScoreCEO since 2016. I'm surprised that most of our customers don't take advantage of this and don't really look at this. This is part of the compliance backbone that and our ethos in ScoreCEO. So automated disclaimers, right? We don't accept credit privacy numbers, and those 3 documents, just on the terms of service alone, that are part of every page within the customer's portal, they can click on it and see that, right? Red flag tagging. She showed you how on a compliance step, which is we call it the qualification criteria step. You can use that to create your own custom know your customer process with scripts, and she showed you how to do that. Campaign alerts for risky client behavior. In ScoreCEO, you can tie a tag to a campaign. That could be a 1 email campaign, a 1,000 email campaign, a campaign with a call, with a task, with a text message. It's a very versatile way to go ahead and communicate with your customers, just not proactively or reactively, but also from a proactive compliant process point of view. Your documentation is stored automatically, right? You can create notes, right? I would recommend creating canned notes, and we didn't get that far with Jasmine because she had some problems there. But creating canned notes in the system, you can create repetitive notes in ScoreCEO that you can literally just click on it and it adds a whole paragraph of a note, and that is logged and time stamped. Okay, that shows that you're self-regulating. If you identify a customer that's trying to, you know, sometimes you might not, let's say a customer using a CPN got by your know your customer process, but your processor figures it out. That's the moment that you want to engage a different type of communication, suspend all type of service and let them know, hey, we think you have a CPN. Did you know that? Okay, and take it from there. You have to come up with your own policies, right, on how you're going to manage that, right? Audit-ready communications. ScoreCEO keeps a company a log for every single company that's very specific, right? And in the workflow process, as you complete each step, it tells you, you know, like in the compliance steps, if you mark it as a required step and you complete 5 required steps, it'll complete that step and you move on. It'll timestamp that and move on to the next step, right? You can even create a tag and automate and trigger an event based on the completion of that step. right? So you can go ahead and do that and customize that to how you operate, right? Especially when you're doing a know your customer type of endeavor. All right. So what does that mean? ScoreCEO was built on compliance. Its ethos is compliance, and we want you to use it in a compliant way to help you engage and your customers and leads. Because you know what? You can't fix stupid. And sometimes your clients may not understand the difference. So if you flag them and you tell it the way it is, and you force them to do the right thing, and they do the right thing, you did a really good thing. If you just want to get rid of them because you don't even want to talk about it, well, you did a good thing for the industry and for yourself. Okay, but this is the way we eradicate thievery and fraud. Okay, I hate it when people, as soon as I say the word credit repair, immediately people are like, they kind of look at me funny. It's kind of like not a really good thing to have a credit repair company sometimes in some forums, right? You know what? Let's change that. We're going to change that one customer at a time, and this is the way you do that. Automations that prevent it, like I mentioned, are tag, trigger internal alerts, require SSN validation, auto send compliance disclosures, right? You can do that by, you can have a tag where you apply a tag and it automatically sends your disclosures to them. You can do that too. You could create a campaign for that, right? If a lead triggers a CPN flag, you can configure ScoreCEO to automatically send trigger disclaimers, right? You can do that, okay? If you don't know how, by the way, okay, and I'm going a bit too fast, well, that's okay, because we're not here to exactly implement this with you. We're just telling you that ScoreCEO is the absolute best tool to do it. Our competitors don't even differentiate between the terms of service of their user types. So they're lost. They're in the gray area. They're not doing anything to proactively mitigate these problems with your customers, right? Or protect your business, okay? Stop onboarding workflow until it's resolved. You want to document, have a note that you apply immediately with a canned note that all your salespeople pop on there if something like that happens. You have to train them on your process. Create that process, right? Train your people. Use this document to do so. Right? Build a compliance wall around your business. Train your team. Update all lead forms and onboarding documents. Add disclaimers everywhere. Website, SMS, emails, anywhere it fits. That doesn't damage your marketing mojo. All right. On your contracts and your terms of service for all different types of contact users, like your referral agents, your leads and customers, and your users across the board. You want to go ahead and build a compliance wall around your business, around yourself, right? And ScoreCEO provides you with those tools. It's a magnificent thing if you use it, right? It's not just state-by-state compliance that we have. We have a whole bunch of features that can leverage and are built to take advantage of your experience with your customer and be able to automate a lot of this communication and a lot of this regulation and then track it within ScoreCEO. So if a regulator comes in, you just give them that, you just go ahead and give them another access point, right? You just tell them, here's a user for you. Go ahead and just take a look at every single customer you have that you want to take a look at for violations. And continue on your way, right? Unless they want you to be there, right? But you don't have to do anything because there's nothing to hide. The software is going to provide everything to them. It's timestamped. You can do it all with as it relates to this and building a compliance wall for CPNs. You can do all of that automatically with ScoreCEO and track it. Protecting your brand is equal to protecting your business. Okay, so your reputation's all you got. That's why there's such a low cost of entry barrier. There's such a low barrier to entry for a credit repair business. All you really need is what? A couple of grand and a merchant account and a great piece of software like ScoreCEO. And if you pay attention, you're off to the races. And it'll just get better if you really apply yourself to your business, right? So what is it that you have? You have your brand. You can't tarnish that, and that's the way you protect your business, okay? Everything in this presentation, once again, if you need a copy of it, Jasmine will tell you how you guys are going to get that, okay? If she's back soon. Jasmine, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, I lost connection for a minute, but I was right back up.
That's okay. That's okay. So let's review, this is your 2026 CPN action plan, right? You want to review your intake process this week. Take some time, look at it, start looking at the way your salespeople or you analyze yourself. If you're a business of one, start listening to yourself and how you approach these customers. If they ask you questions on CPNs, if they ask you questions on complete credit sweep and getting a new identity, any of that, what do you do? Okay, so this is what you need to do. You want to add CPN disclaimers to your ScoreCEO workflows. You want to train yourself and your staff in a compliant customer response, right? What you need to say if, right? Use ScoreCEO automations to reduce risk. You want to add a small tag. It takes literally a minute to create a tag, and I think that's too long. All you have to do is create a quick tag, call it CPN red flag, and then every time you have a customer that mentions it, just tag them. If you want to send out some automated content, as soon as you tag that customer, create a campaign. It's called a tag-based campaign. Or you want to go ahead and add that customer to a broadcast list and call it red flag broadcast list. And you can tie a broadcast list of customers to a red flag, to a campaign as well. So that means that you can try it in different ways, different types of multi-step campaigns to inform customers and inquire in an automated way that doesn't have you doing that. Okay, and immediately you stop all further communication until you resolve your CPN doubt. Okay. And you can easily filter these tags in ScoreCEO. If you need to show, you want to brag in front of a regulator, say, look, and these are my CPN red flags, or my identity or my fraud red flags, and that includes CPNs, that includes identity theft, that includes scammers. They're all in there. They're under this tag, and these are the customers that we red flagged, and this is what we did, and these are the automated notes or the canned notes that we created for them, and all the documentation and what we did on all their cases, just in case you want to know. Okay, these are things that excite regulators. They want to see that CROs are trying to do the best that they can within this huge landscape of laws that try to regulate our industry. You're trying to self-regulate. They love that. Okay, and you know why I know that? Because I'm probably one of the only people that when we had a credit repair company, we were audited not once, not twice, but 3 times by my local regulating body. I have never heard of anybody in the industry that has happened to. Okay, so I know a thing which I don't like. I'm not bragging about it, but I can tell you that it's a terrible thing to go through. And that's why I built ScoreCEO, so that if there's one thing that ScoreCEO absolutely does in the right way is decrease your costs when being audited. Because by the way, regulators charge you to be there on a weekly basis and daily basis. So if you get audited, you're paying that ticket. FYI. All right. That's the end of our content, and I want to thank you all for joining, right? Our next webinar is on lifelong clients, building trust and retention, but I'm open for questions right now because I was trying to be respectful of your time. If you want to go ahead and open up, Jasmine, a question and answer session, I'm ready to go with that. If we have no questions already queued up, you let me know what's next. Jasmine?
Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Okay, I don't know, my headphones are acting up now. So we have one question on how to create a tag. So they wanted me to show them how they can create a tag.
Go for it.
Okay, so let me just share my screen again. And Josh, just let me know if you by any chance stop hearing me at some point.
I'll be the first to advise you.
Okay, so first things first, it's going to depend where you want the tag. So we have a general area where you can create all of your tags, and you can find that in your configurations bubble. We have the tag manager section in which it allows you to create all of your tags. This is where you could do it at any time, create all of your tags in here. But if you want them to be in a specific location, like we looked at when I was showing my example inside of a workflow step, so what you could do is you can create it in the tag manager section, or you can create it right in the workflow settings. I like to use the workflow settings because I need to go there anyways to add it to one of the steps. So you could possibly do it there if you wanted to. I'll show you both ways that you can do that. So the first one is in the tag manager. You just go into the tag manager from the configurations bubble, click on create new, and it's as simple as putting the name of the tag in the description. And you save it, and that will generate your tag as you can see here. The tags will show you how many times that tag is being used. Just keep in mind, the only way you can remove a tag from here is if it's not assigned to anyone. It won't allow you to remove a tag if someone has that tag. So just keep that in mind. The next other way that you can also create tags is if you're inside of a workflow step. And let's say that you wanted that step inside of the credit monitoring field, for example. You can click on the workflow step, and below you'll have to search and add tags. You can click create a new tag. Here it's the same pop-up is going to appear. You can write out your tag. It will automatically create it, and then you just have to come here and apply the tag. This create new tag is on multiple screens, so it's not just limited to the workflow steps necessarily, but any place that you have a tag area, like in the client's profile, you can search for a tag. If it's not here, it will allow you to create the tag. But just a rule of thumb, the easiest way, go into your configuration and go into the tag manager, and there you'll be able to create all of your tags.
I hope that answered the CRO's question. What other questions do we have, Jasmine?
Second, I have to go to the top of the screen. I think there was just more conversation back and forth in the chat between everyone. Not seeing any questions. Ariana, if you see one that I'm just skipping over, you could just let me know.
It's like you said, it was more conversation, and Chris Butch he didn't even heard of CPNs until now. Joshua, you're on mute.
Yeah, that's I'm laughing here because of course he hasn't, because he's one of the most compliant people I know in our space. I mean, he's been with us for a bit, and he's uber compliant. And I think that's Joma as well. I mean, Juma's like, I can't even believe this is really a thing. Well, this is coming back, Juma. There's a lot. Yeah, I can see that. There's a lot of fraud being. I mean, there's an uptick in fraud like you would not believe in the financial space right now. And KYC, FINRA laws, financial laws are all being updated to take advantage. Because now with AI, I mean, you can generate documents and things that are incredible, that can help you do so many different things. You have to, I'll give you an example that has unrelated to CPNs. I was interviewing a developer the other day, and this guy had an answer for everything. I said, this is my dream employee. I was in love with the guy. And then all of a sudden, I'm looking at him, and I add somebody to the call, and we end the call, and the other developer was asking me if I heard the background noise. And I didn't. So we had him give us another opportunity to interview him with another developer. And we went ahead and did that. And when we had that developer, I looked at the screen, and we were on Microsoft Teams. And he had his headset on. And so I thought he was listening to us through that headset. As soon as I said, can you I started hearing like in another language, I started hearing this background noise. And as I was interviewing the guy, he was responding like almost perfect answers. And I heard this noise, and one of the co-members at Score says, "Are you hearing that in text?" He sends me a text, and I said, "Yeah, I'm listening to it now. I can hear some background gibberish going on. I don't know if it's like I don't if you're back from the days that we had copper lines and phones at our homes, sometimes you'd hear two phone calls in one, and then it's because the rain crossed the copper signal, the water damaged something or something like that. But these are digital signals, so what the heck's going on? So I tell the guy to take off his headset, takes it off, he puts it in front of his monitor, and all of a sudden I keep talking, and he had an AI client translating everything I was saying to his language. It seemed to be Hindu, right? And he was answering me. AI was offering him answers when I would pause. So he built an AI client to go ahead and lie to me or try to, lie to me about different things that he possibly didn't even know about, but AI was telling him on how to make it look like he did know about them. So that's how sophisticated we're. It took me about 3 or 4 interviews and 2 different developers to validate that he was lying, because once I told him to take the headset off, he could hear us just fine, which I did not understand, because why would you have headsets on if you're on an interview other than to hear me, right? If you take it off in Teams, you have to physically make a change in the settings to hear that. And I would have seen he was sharing his screen, so I would have seen his mouse moving around. He did nothing. So he was listening to something else. So that's how sophisticated things are happening. Imagine that with an HR recruitment process. You can just imagine on proof of residences, and we used to call them the Houdini people, right? The people that would take IDs back in the day, right? You have to watch out for those. And they would grab their proof of residence was in their wife's name, but they needed it in their name, and they magically snipped it out and put tape over it and some whiteout and photocopied it so they would look it was a document. That's fraud. Well, with technology and the digital scenarios that we have today and AI, I can tell you one thing: that is a lot easier to do. Just ask Nano Banana. Okay, and if any of you know what that is, you'll look it up and you'll see the things that Google can do for you for free. If you pay for it, it will do it even more. So you have to be really careful. AI is being used the right way, but it's also being used in a malicious way. This is a very real thing. All right, so once again, remember, next webinar, I'm going to register for it. It's prospecting lifelong clients. It'll be, I believe, end of January, beginning of February 26th, actually. We're going to take we're going to take some time off, but in February, we start again with the monthly webinars once again. The QR code is on the screen, right? And you want to register today. I think it's already up and running, the new webinar, but this is going to be a good one: building trust and retention and credit repair. Think about this: if you've got if you have 100 customers, right, and you lose, let's say, 3 customers a month, right, and you decrease that to 1 customer a month, how much more are you making? If you elongate that from 4 to 6 months to 9 to 12 months, not because you're dragging the credit repair along, but just because the service is so wonderful, they feel ashamed just to leave it, because they want to go ahead and not only get what they want, which is what happens to credit repair clients. They leave when they get what they want, most of them. But they look at you as a valued resource, and they actually want credit repair to be not credit repair, but credit education and credit literacy to be part of their new conversations and the way they act in their new life, right? In their new credit life, right? If you can push that message along, guess what? They're going to stay longer, and they're going to consume your credit monitoring. That means that if you're not getting paid for credit monitoring, you should be, and you can reach out to us. But if you are, if a customer lasts 6 months or lasts 12 months, you just make twice as much in residuals, right? Which could be anywhere between $4 to $6 or $7 or $8, depending on your volume. But you know what? that if you when you're talking about hundreds of clients and you're getting a check every month, the longer they stay on, the bigger that check gets. So that's a great way to generate passive revenue, as well as your monthly subscription revenues. They're going to increase in the same in the same ratio, right? So you want to, keeping your customers on longer because you have a fantastic service, you have a fantastic outreach program. You've automated that through ScoreCEO. You've used videos to go ahead and create automated AI videos with an avatar, and it's going out there and it looks like you, and you're telling them this is my AI personality. You're being forthright and honest, not trying to pull the wool over their eyes and make it seem like it's you. You should not do that. Tell them that's your AI avatar, right? Go ahead and do that. We're experimenting with that at Score as well, right? So this is going to be a good webinar. Be there, and that'll be in February, right? Check out our weekly blog, right? Is 650 a credit score, good or bad? What to tell clients, action plan for credit repair pros. 650, you'd be surprised that you can take a customer up to about 640, 650, and then all of a sudden to get things removed and repaired and their utilization score is dropping. For some reason, they were getting huge hikes, and then they hit that realm between 640 and 650, and now you don't know what the heck happened. It's really, things are being corrected on their report. Everything's going well, but the score is not budging. It moves a point, sometimes drops a few points, right? And you just don't know what to tell your customers. Well, the reason probably is a multitude of reasons, but one could be they're in a different credit score. Their scorecards have changed, so the impact is different. That's one. But primarily in the algorithm, the difference between a 650 and a 680 is huge. A 660 is huge. That there's an underwriting number there that there's a bigger hurdle to overcome. And that blog tells you, what are those things. Take a look at it, and take a look at our other blogs. We have fantastic blogs for all of you to really take a look at and educate yourselves even further. Websites, if you want to have a website by Score, but from Score, we do custom websites. We have templated websites. What we have on the site are templates, but we can customize those sites for you. We have our SEO services. That service is starting to grow. Customers are staying on longer. Our CROs are starting to get benefit of on-site and off-site SEO, as well as keyword building. And now we're starting to talk to customers about backlinking, right? And we're based on different domain ranking sites that are relative to the web space, to our space. These are things that help you acquire free traffic, right? And if you want to do pay-per-click, we can do that too, right? So, go ahead and take a look at those SEO services. And if you need to talk, fill out a form there, and we'll go ahead or engage the chat, and we'll set up some time to talk to you about that, right? For a training, once again, if you need more training, go ahead and book some time. I mean, take an hour off of YouTube and Netflix, and go ahead and spend an hour with Ariana on a call and have her help you go ahead and educate yourself on the nuances, because we're adding stuff to ScoreCEO monthly. A lot of them are small enhancements. We send out emails on them, so you want to pay attention to that as well. Okay, and remember this, we're talking about our industry, right? The best way to go ahead and support our industry is through NACSO. There is no other association that has been around so long, has actually lobbied any issues in Washington, other than the National Association of Credit Service Organizations. Anybody else is a wannabe. And quite frankly, it's not about being anything. It's about supporting our interests, right? And when we can't fund the association, we have very little to give to lobbyists to go ahead and promote our position to senators and congressmen, right? And pollsters, right? These are all the people, or the lobbyists, right? These are all the people that need to have our interests promoted to them. If not, interest will be shunned upon us. They're going to tell us what to do, and that's already happening. We had that happen a few years ago when membership went down to almost nothing at NACSO, and we just didn't have enough money to explain why Credit Repair Cloud shouldn't be engaged the way they were being engaged, or creditrepair.com. In the past, we were able to hit that those issues off at the pass. But today, in order for you to engage lobbyists, you need to have money, right? And this is what they do. So the good thing about this, if you want to get certified, this is the best place to get your employees certified, right? They charge you per customer, but you tell them about by people you have working there. And so let's say you had 2 employees, it would be $299 to start, plus about $100 a month, $49 a month for 2 employees, right? But you would have the ability to get your credit, your CROA certification, and which you take a test and a certification and a certificate stating that. And guess what? That's something that you can put on your website. You can put in on your LinkedIn profiles and things of that nature. It's something that somebody else doesn't have. Plus, I think if you use this offer code, you get $100 off on the $299 to start. So just take a look at that, and I'm going to keep repeating this because that's what we need to do. All right, so that's the end of my conversation with y'all today. I really appreciate you being here today and taking up some time in your very busy day to do so. I hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. If we don't speak, we will have our first webinar in February, but if we don't speak other than that, have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and go ahead and spend a lot of quality time with your loved ones. Have a great day, everyone.